Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And first and foremost, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. We have fastly approached and entered 2025. And let's hope that 2025 is better than 2024. Even though we have not started on the right foot nationally with the tragedy that took place in New Orleans and the bombing that took place in Las Vegas. But I want to get into some of the things that are taking place with our city governments. We know Chicago is having all kinds of city issues with the mayor there. There is a heap and a mountain full of issues that are taking place in Chicago. Of course, we know New York City is probably the number one in the headlines under Mayor Eric Adams with his indictment, and there's all kinds of corruption taking place there. Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County is having their issues, and even St. Louis, Missouri. There have been issues with the city jail, and there are a mounting amount of issues with the sheriff's department. And now we have, amid allegations of corruption with the St. Louis building inspectors. So let's get into that. St. Louis building inspector resigns amid investigation into potential corruption. The resignation follows allegations of improper fundraising tactics tied to city inspections. A building inspector at the center of a daycare donation scandal resigned as federal authorities intensified their investigation into potential corruption within the city building division. Feds are going to be busy this year. Dan Copeland submitted his resignation to Director Ed Ware, the current head of the city agency, amid mounting scrutiny over his role in soliciting charitable contributions during office building inspections. Now remember, this is about a guy named Dan Copeland. He said, "I didn't do anything wrong," Copeland said in an interview, in a Thursday interview. "I just tried to do the right thing." Copeland spoke freely about his involvement in the fundraising outreach. Now let's get into the turmoil and listen to it carefully on what he has been alleged to have done. And I believe that stuff like this has been going on in many cities for decades. The city of St. Louis placed Copeland on paid leave on Monday after Five on Your Side reached out to the mayor's office for comment. Copeland's resignation comes as multiple sources confirm FBI agents, remember the feds, they're going to be busy, have begun interviewing daycare operators and city staffers following the request of Mayor Tashara Jones in recent media reports about the practice. So this is not a state issue, this is a federal issue, FBI. At the time, Copeland was soliciting donations during inspections, doing his job as an inspector, but he's also trying to solicit donations. Conflict of interest for sure. He was supervised by Frank Oswald, who retired in February 2024. In collaboration with St. Louis Magazine and reporter Ryan Kroll, Five on Your Side uncovered government documents linking Copeland's fundraising to Oswald's wife, Karen Carter. So remember, at a particular time, Copeland was working under Frank Oswald, who recently retired. But this nonprofit fundraising campaign that Copeland is being accused of is in association with Frank Oswald's wife, Karen Carter. In 2019, Karen Carter reached out to Copland at his government email address with a list of daycare providers to target for solicitation, including a breakdown of those who haven't donated yet. So there's potential conflict with Frank Oswald and his wife, and of course Copland. And it says she appeared to use a personal email address to coordinate the fundraising with Copland on behalf of her charity. It says that 5 on Your Side reporter Mark Maxwell spoke with Frank Oswald outside his home on Thursday. In the interview, Oswald acknowledged the impropriety of an inspector seeking donations during official city visits, but denied knowledge of his wife's role. But there are emails showing that Karen was emailing Copland about pressuring people to donate to her nonprofit. So even though he's saying he has no knowledge of it, there is a technological footprint of the emails. Certainly, yes, that's part of the violation of the rules of ethics. You're not supposed to do anything on city time, Oswald said when questioned about the practice. The fundraising solicitations came to light after LaDonna Smith, owner of Little Precious Angels Child Care Center, recorded an interaction in April 2022 where an inspector requested donations while wielding the authority to issue fines or even condemn her buildings. Smith ultimately wrote a $500 check to a nonprofit fundraising organization after the inspector initially suggested amounts as high as $10,000. You're talking about pressuring someone to donate to this nonprofit or end up getting your building fined or let alone condemned. You talk about pay for play. One daycare operator said he faced apparent retaliation after declining to contribute. Dennis Douglas, a former daycare owner, reported receiving increased inspections and violations after he refused to donate, eventually leading to his building's condemnation. The condemnation was lifted shortly after Douglas vacated the property and a new daycare operator moved into the alleged condemned building. Wow. A lot of people are afraid because what they do is they use your business. And if you don't give them money for their donation, they'll shut you down, said Sasha Maricola, a building owner who rents space to daycare providers. Records obtained through Missouri Sunshine Act revealed the inspector used government email and resources to reach out to daycare providers. Tim Emby, the executive director of the Special Education Foundation, tracked down at least $12,000 over a 3-year span that Copland raised for the Special Education Foundation's charity golf tournament. EBI has said the nonprofit may refund any contributions made under undue influence. So this foundation that Copland is pressuring people to give money to is the Special Education Foundation charity, but it's for a golf tournament, not for helping kids, elderly people, disabled people. Mayor Jones has requested investigations by both state and federal authorities. In a letter to the FBI, Jones wrote, "It is critical that we get to the bottom of this broader issue immediately. While we take every action we can internally to hold wrongdoers accountable, St. Louisans deserve to know that this problem is being fully investigated." That is fantastic by Mayor Jones to bring to light and to set aside and bring in state and federal authorities and not wipe this under the rug where she could have some kind of issue with this building inspector allegedly doing these things. She's opening up Pandora's box, which is the right thing to do. Because, of course, this could fall back on her. Oswald said he notified the Jones administration in 2023 when building owners lodged complaints about Copland's tactics. I probably told the director at the time, he said, referring to former Department of Public Safety Director Dan Isom. The building division, which reports to the Department of Public Safety, was under Isom's control until Jones appointed Charlie Coyle to take over in October 2023. So Dan Isom, who was the public safety director at the time, was before that the past chief of police. I know Dan Isom personally, a very fine man. We're the same age, kind of grew up together. And Dan has always been a person of the utmost integrity and professionalism. I think Mayor Jones is doing the right thing by exposing it and letting state and federal authorities handle this. I don't think that Mr. Copland realizes had realized at the time that while he's trying to get these contributions on the city's clock and dollar, that he was committing possible not only state and city violations, but federal violations. When you're dealing with nonprofit organizations and funding, and when you're dealing with city government emails, that can cross the line into federal issues. And I don't think Mr. Copland realized how deep that this saga could go. I think that there is a certain level of hubris and arrogance, again, and egregiousness that we see all the time, where Mr. Dan Copland thought that he could get away with this. Probably has been going on for years and decades, and never thought that this would come to light. But social media, the FBI is going to be extremely busy exposing and bringing to justice people that are committing crimes. And in today's time, things that are in the dark will definitely come to light. And I think it's very interesting that Mr. What is his name? Oswald, his wife, Oswald, remember, was Copland's supervisor until he retired. But the nonprofit that Copland was trying to push to get donations is actually being run by Oswald's wife, Karen Carter. They have different last names, but there is a lineage and a line between Karen Carter and Mr. Copland. Why was he pressuring folks to donate not to his charity, but to Karen Carter's is of major interest. But they are both going to be in hot water. Karen Carpenter is going to have to answer questions to the feds. Mr. Oswald, her husband, will. And of course, Dan Copland ended up resigning and could be in hot water. These things take place all the time. And our city politics, our city government has to be accountable for making sure that they represent the people in the right way. And building inspectors have a lot of power. People are trying to run viable businesses in each of these cities. What we need is the moral fabric and heartbeat of America, small businesses. And if you have some corruptible building inspector putting pressure on individuals who are trying to run their business, that is not a good thing. We're just trying to make a buck and take care of our families. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.